So this is the second part of 10 dishes to save your life, and we're going to concentrate mostly on minced beef. Minced beef, inexpensive, good protein, very easy to create lots of delicious dishes from a single pack of beef. Now, two things to say. 5% beef, that's 5% fat, and 12% fat. And they're used for different reasons. The 5% I would use to make meatballs, kebabs, anything that needs frying or barbecuing. It needs to be low in fat, because otherwise, as they cook, the fat will render out and they will shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink until they're too small. And they will also be a little bit on the tough side because the fat has been rendered out. The 12% fat is what I use for things like a bolognese, which will go into a lasagna, which we'll do later today. And the extra fat gives a nice mouthfeel. So the meat isn't dry, in any circumstance it's not dry. And the fat just gives a little bit of coating to the inside of your mouth. Nothing to, to be concerned about. But it just gives a better feel in the mouth, and that adds to the pleasure of eating the dish. So, one of the first things, I've already started it, is minced beef to make a cottage pie. So, here we have, there's probably about 250 grams of beef there, finely chopped onion, finely chopped garlic. There's a third of a stock cube, because there's not very much meat there. This is just going to make a sort of one portion dish. And I'm going to quite unembarrassedly add some bisto, because this is the sort of dish that my mother used to make. And I love that part of my mother's cooking. I didn't like it when she tried to do all the esoteric things, but home cooking and using a bit of bisto, ain't nothing wrong with it. It's a good product. It's not restaurant type food. This is home food. This is for feeding the family, for having a few friends around. The bisto in there will help thicken and flavour, because it's got a cornflour style thickener in, and it'll have the equivalent of some stock cube and so on and so forth. So that'll thicken up. The bisto's thickened that up, and this is not only for flavour, but when you put it into the bowl, you've got to put the potato on top, and if it's too liquid, the potato is just going to sink, and you're going to have, well, something that dogs would enjoy, but a bit of a mess for a human. The potatoes, once they're boiled, you want to let them just steam for a moment on the top of the stove. Then get your rather broken masher. Start to mash them. And we want butter in this. And butter is good. It's good flavour. So we're going to add a fair bit of butter. The French would add about half butter to potato, and you can actually feel your arteries furring up as you eat the stuff. So while it's not very good for you, it is absolutely delicious. So now this has taken probably 15 minutes from beginning to end. We take a little spatula, take out our potato, smooth it over, and of course I've only used 250 grams or so of minced beef here, but you can use a whole pack, you can use 2 packs, and it's a great dish for feeding a lot of people. inexpensive, full of protein, carbohydrates. Timer's up because I burnt the last set of potatoes. So there we are. This is something we're going to be dealing with later. But for now, we're going to put just some grated cheese on the top of this. That then goes in the oven until the cheese is browned, because that's all it needs, because everything else is cooked and it's warm. So that just goes in probably for about 15 minutes. So I'm going to set another alarm so that I don't burn this one. Alexa, set me an alarm for 15 minutes, please.
15-minute alarm set for 11:25 a.m.
Thank you. So the next thing we're doing is, it's a braised beef, minced beef again. I've started off with some onions and garlic. I want to put some flavourings into that, and those flavourings are cumin seed, a nice pinch, good pinch, because you want the flavour of those. And then I have some red pepper, and the garlic. So that's going to go in. We don't need to cook that separately. We're just going to add our minced beef in now. And again, this is a 12%. And what we're going to do is, once this is braised, we're going to put it into a wrap. And you've got a burrito style dish, which you can then add avocado, tomatoes, red onion, some chili, some yogurt, and you've got a lovely meal, which you would pay quite a lot of money for in a takeaway. And you can do it really simply and really inexpensively here at home. Okay, so we're going to make a bolognese. There is an absolute classic way to make a bolognese, but we're not all about that here. The classic way is you use a sofrito, which is finely chopped carrot, celery, and onion, and it's the sort of the three major basis for vegetables for a basis for many dishes in Spanish, Italian, and French cooking. In France, it's called a mirepoix. They probably cut those a little bit bigger, and the idea is you cook those down until they're just beginning to go golden around the edges, and those three flavors add to the end of the dish. It's a great thing to do, but we just want to show you something simple. So we're going to make a bolognese with just with some onion and garlic, and then we're going to add a little bit of white wine, because that's really good for a bolognese, and bolognese would also have milk in it. And you cook down the meat until the raw colour is gone, and those are all golden and lovely. Then you add in your milk and you reduce it right down, and the milk proteins start to get sort of sticky and unctuous. And then you add in your white wine, you reduce that right down, and then you add your tomatoes. And you should cook a bolognese sauce for about 2 hours. Keep topping up with water. But we're not going to do that, because you can make a really tasty bolognese in 20-25 minutes. And as we see, you make a bolognese with your spaghetti, you make a lasagna, and then by adding a load of chili in and some kidney beans, we've got a chili con carne. So 3 dishes out of the 1 straight away. This is the beef for the wrap. There's a lovely smell of red pepper and cumin now. So I'm going to add in That's 2/3 of a beef stock cube, gnaw. The other ones I don't really go for. So just going to crumble that in, and I'm going to add enough water just to cover it. So that's the amount of water, just covering the beef, and we're going to cook that down now until it's almost completely dry. And there's a reason for that, because it's going in a wrap, you don't want it all sloppy. And while it's cooking, it tenderizes the beef, because minced beef is just a solid muscle which has been minced down, and you wouldn't eat a solid muscle, just put it in a pan and then eat it, because it'd be horribly tough. So minced beef, if you don't cook it long enough, is going to be a bit tough. So this is going to tenderize it as it cooks down, and as it cooks down it evaporates the liquid and concentrates the flavour, and then you'll have something just go straight in a wrap with all your other bits and pieces. Wrap it up, jum jum, lovely. So that's on the back of the stove now. We're happy with that, and I'm going to do a bolognese. So I've got my onion, and as I say, we're not going to use those today, because for the purposes of this cooking lesson, if you like, exhibition, is not about perfecting an original dish. It's about getting a meal out quickly and getting a meal out inexpensively, and seeing the range of dishes we can get from minced beef. So a bit of oil in there. That, if you remember, or if you saw the last one, you know this is a sort of universal oil. So that's 2/3 is vegetable oil, and then the last third is extra virgin olive oil. That way your good olive oil goes a lot further, and you don't need extra virgin olive oil in every dish. Sometimes it's too strong. You need something which is a bit more nuanced. So this is going on the stove. I'll chop up a bit of garlic for it. We want quite a lot of garlic in this, because garlic's good, and you know, these are mostly Italian, and they like a bit of garlic in their food. So smash it down and the skin just falls off. Smash it down and the skin just falls off. Then it's also crushed so that when you chop it, it's already broken down quite a bit by being crushed into bits. So you don't want to add your garlic at the same time as you put your onions in, because the garlic has a lot more sugar, and by the time your onions are cooked, your garlic is going to be overcooked, and it'll begin to burn on the edges, and burnt garlic is bitter garlic. You will never get it out of the dish, and it's not very nice. It's used sometimes, specifically, mostly in Asian cooking. They want to really caramelize the garlic, because it produces a different flavour all of its own. But for this purposes, we're not doing it. The cottage pie should be ready now. Alexa has told me that my time is up. Very useful to have an Alexa in the kitchen, because you can just shout across the room, set me a timer, and then you don't hopefully burn things like I did earlier today. So there it is, golden, just bubbling around the edges a bit. That's a meal for 2 people. Well, most people that I know it'd be a meal for 2. For my son that might be 1 person's, and many of his friends. So very simple. Onion, garlic. If you've got some herbs, some thyme, it likes a bit of thyme, then you cook it down, get rid of the raw meat colour till it's gone grey, add in some water, because you need a bit of gravy with it, 1/3 of a stock cube, a beef stock cube, and then probably for this amount, it was probably a half a tablespoon of Bisto. You cook the Bisto out, it thickens everything up, into the dish, potato on top, cheese on top, in the oven. It's been there 15 minutes. So the whole thing from beginning to end, 25 minutes probably. And that with a salad on the side, some peas, I don't know, whatever you like. Some people like broccoli, some people don't. But it's a good, inexpensive meal that can be extended to a dish this big and feed lots of people. Cottage pie. The bolognese is going to make a classic spaghetti bolognese. It's going to be the ragu, the sauce in our lasagna. It's also going to be a chili, all from one pot. So we need to make a bit of bechamel. We did this in the first iteration of this video. We're going to do it again because it's a really important thing to do. So butter, get it melting. For a lasagna, the bechamel likes a bit of nutmeg. It's classic in Italy, and it just adds a tiny little flavour which you probably wouldn't even be able to identify, but it gives it a little bit more authenticity. So I've got this weird little thing which takes your nutmegs in it, and it's got a grater on top, which is quite handy. So just grate some up. There's probably a quarter of a teaspoon there. I'm going to add that in with the butter. I'm also going to add today a tiny bit of Dijon mustard. Not a classic thing, but a nice thing. So butter's nearly melted. Just going to mix that all around. Dijon is a very good flavour, a background flavour for many things. You know, you can add it to mayonnaise, you add it to sauces, you know, making a white wine sauce with a bit of cream and so on and so forth. A little bit of Dijon in there gives a little background flavour. It also helps thicken it slightly. So we're just going with what I judge to be the right amount of flour. So we can tell by mixing that in, and there we are. This is pretty much how we want it. Might add just a tad more. Well, that really is enough. And one of the things they say about making bechamel is that you have to warm your milk up to add it in. Well, I don't. There we are. We've got the right milk now. We need blue milk. We need whole milk for this, not the red, you know, super light. You know, nothing happening, no flavour, no nothing. Just white water. Don't want it. So, again, this is by eye, and it's because I've done it so many times. It would be advisable to look up a recipe, and it'll give you perfect measurements which will work every time. So a little bit of milk in first, and I'm just whisking that to amalgamate the flour, butter and milk. The reason for adding hot milk is they say if you add cold milk it goes lumpy, but there's no lumps in that because I've whisked them out. Add a little bit more rest of the milk, put it on the stove. It'll come up gently to speed. It'll thicken as it does. We'll season it, and then we'll layer up our lasagna with the bechamel and the pasta. Meanwhile, you can see that there's just a tiny little bit of pink left in this, which is the uncooked meat. Otherwise it's gone grey. So we've gone from that colour to that colour, and that's how it should be. So I'm going to add a tiny bit of white wine to this. We don't need very much white wine. We just need a half a glass, and it's just another layer of flavour. So we're going to cook that now until that white wine has reduced to almost absolutely nothing. So we turn up the heat under that. Meanwhile, this is the red pepper, cumin and beef, and you can see it's getting really pretty dry now. So we want to continue to do that. We'll do it on a very low heat until it's dry enough to be able to sort of spoon out quite happily. Quick whisk of the bechamel. So to this I'm going to add some tomato paste. Good squeeze of tomato paste while the wine is reducing. So that's probably a tablespoon and a half. So just tomato puree out of a tube. And then anything that's got tinned tomatoes in it, it loves a little bit of ketchup, because the ketchup adds sweetness and acidity. So we're just going to put a tablespoon and give it a nice stir around. And we're going to add some tinned tomatoes, and for that amount we've got in there, we've got 250, we've got about 300 grams, 350 grams probably. So chopped tomatoes. The chopped tomatoes for this job are very much the best thing. Peeled plum tomatoes, they have to pick those slightly underripe so that the tomato holds together while they steam them and peel them. The chopped tomatoes are the ones that are really ripe or overripe, and they chop nice and easily, you know, they just fall apart. So you're going to get a little bit more flavour out of these. A little bit of water in there with it as well, and that we're just going to let simmer for a bit. Basically you want it to simmer until the fat starts to come out. So when you see a layer of fat on the top, that's when it's all cooked through and it's ready to go. So we're going to make 3 dishes from that. Simple bolognese, the lasagna, and then we'll take some out into a different pan and we'll make a chili, which is probably what I'm going to do now. So we're going to put together this wrap now. So these are just wraps in the supermarket. They do need to be encouraged along. So we're just going to put them in a pan for a moment, just until they start to, they've got to warm through. They'll blister slightly. They'll get some dark little bits, you know, slightly singed, which is all good for the flavour. Then we're going to lay on our beef. I've got some avocado. some sliced red onion, some baby tomatoes, and some yogurt. And then I'm going to liberally sauce it with some hot sauce and wrap it up, and it's a good thing. So it's a question really of refreshing the wraps, because you know, they're sat in a plastic packet for some time, and you know, they've got preservatives in them, we all know that, and it's just a way of just sparkling them up a bit. So there we go, nice and soft now, which is what we want. So this is the beef that was really pretty liquid before, and now it's really quite nice and dry. So the layer of beef, any of these things you can take out. You don't like raw onion, that's fine, it doesn't matter. You put in something you do like. That's one of the beauties of cooking. You do what you want. Some avocado. A few little halves of baby tomatoes. Gives it a lovely freshness in there. You know, a bit of acidity. Then we're going to have some yogurt over the top. Again, it's another bit of protein, and you get that lovely lactic twang from the yogurt. I'm going to put black pepper on because I love black pepper. Quite a lot of black pepper. Hot sauce. So this is called Cholula, and it's my girlfriend's favourite, and she drinks a pot of it, not drinks, she eats a pot of this a week apparently. It's not that hot, but, well, it would be for some people, but it's not for her, it's not for me. So, there we go. Fold it over, fold it over, fold it over, and you've got a lovely bit of food there. So again, you could have some fried potatoes on the side, maybe with a spicy, like a bravas sauce, patatas bravas, be a nice carbohydrate on the side, or just a lovely salad, simply dressed, bit of lemon juice, bit of olive oil, and a bit of salt and pepper. There you go. Very, very simple, full of protein, full of interesting flavours, and from beginning to end, 20 minutes. So a good thing, another thing with minced beef.